I live in Chicago, and last week it was like snowing, and now it's in the 80s. So it feels like a big jump.
The government cut their weather machine on.
Yeah, for real.
Oh my gosh, see Vanessa, see the way she twerk like a dancer.
Welcome to the SocietyROW podcast. Got your host, Nick Walker here. Also with Claire, who's also the co-host. And we have a special guest today. Cassandra, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra. I go by Cassie. I am 22 years old. I grew up in Bronx, New York. Currently working on my master's in sociology, but on the side, I do photography.
Okay. On the side, you do photography. So tell me a little bit about what do you plan to do with your sociology degree, and do you plan to use that in conjunction with photography?
So I haven't really figured out what exactly I want to do with sociology, only because the classes that I'm taking and the classes that I've taken previously in my undergrad have opened my mindset to an endless amount of possibilities that I can do. But I do know that whatever route I decide to go, I want it to be where I have a non-for-profit kind of organization, or where I can travel and meet other people. Photography is going to be a good asset for me in terms of getting my degree, because I want to make sure I make memories of everywhere I've went. And I do feel like photography is like, it tells a story, and like sociology, you study people, you study society, and I think those two can really work together really well. So I don't want to abandon photography after I get, my master's.
For sure. That's dope. That sounds dope.
Yeah, you're a very accomplished young woman. Oh my God, congrats on your success so far, getting your master's. That's incredible. So can you kind of walk us through your journey with photography? Like, was it always a hobby? Did you, were you drawn to it one day all of a sudden?
So actually photography it was an accident. In my junior year of college, I went on a study abroad to Guilin, China, which is about an hour from Hong Kong. And I wasn't expecting to do any photography. I think it was like a Sony Mark III, but it was only going to be for like vlogging. And then I didn't even vlog there because I forgot the battery back at home. So that was a waste of bringing a camera. But while I was there, the trip was split up into like 3 different groups. You had the social science, the history, and the digital art majors. So we all went together, but we all were given the opportunity to experience each major at the same time. So I've never been out of the country before. And when I first got into Guilin, I think the first thing I remember was just nature. As a city kid, like growing up in New York City, like you don't see a lot of nature. You don't see a lot of like mountains and like vast areas of green. And I was like really taken aback by it. So, but I also knew at the same time, I probably would never come back there, even though I'm currently planning on going back there. But at the time, I didn't think I was gonna have the opportunity to. So I started taking photos on my camera, which were really, really low, very, very bad quality. And I took some on my iPhone. And, after I got back, the photography professor at the time, Wesley Bernard, had a student art show. Basically, that had everyone who took photos there can like put their photographs in that jury show. So I decided, I was just going to take a couple of my photos, a couple of sceneries that I did. And I didn't, I was just blindly taking them, like, just snap. And I wasn't expecting like something big to come out of it until my sociology professor, said like, oh, this is really good. You should put this in there. And I got to the show. I wasn't expecting anybody to comment or give a compliment on any of my works. And it turned out that a lot of people did. So after that, I took a black and white photography or film photography course. And then I went straight into advanced digital, where I bought my Fujifilm, and I've been in love with photography ever since. It's about to be 3 years in total. So, you know, I still feel like I'm kind of a rookie in photography, but I like a lot of concepts. So a lot of my friends who were at the trip itself, you know, they're amazing photographers. So I learned from them. So I mean, I feel like honestly I should tell people like it was an accident, like it wasn't a hobby, because I wasn't expecting anything to come out of this. So but I'm very glad that it did.
I definitely don't think you should call yourself a rookie, because I've seen your Instagram and your photos are amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, they are dope. I checked it out too. And I was interested because we've gotten a chance to talk to a few photographers, and I know a few from where I'm from. I'm from Jackson, Mississippi. And, you know, somebody that doesn't know much about photography, I wanted to ask what type of equipment, if I was interested in photography, what type of equipment should I start off with? And what type of equipment do you currently use to kind of show the progression of the different equipment that you've used over time?
Okay, so I'm gonna be a little bit biased. I do feel like personally, in my opinion, Canons and Nikons are kind of like the industry standard for photography. I have never touched a Canon. No, I'm lying. I actually have touched a Canon for one of my projects, but before that, I've never touched a Canon camera in my life. I actually was in my advanced digital class because I only had my Sony camera, which I wouldn't recommend that camera. Like that camera is specifically for vlogging, but Sony has amazing cameras for photography. Like their A7s are like beautiful. But my first camera that I actually was able to work with, that I used some of my projects on, was a Fujifilm X-T2. And that actually was lended to me by my professor because I didn't have a camera at the time. Fujifilm is great for me. It's outside. I like the Outcast because like it's outside of the industry standard. It's film based originally, you know, like Leica and Minolta. Minolta is actually really great. I've actually used Minolta for a little bit. If you're really into like that kind of gritty, like black and white film photography, I would take a Minolta. But Fujifilm is my all-time favorite. The contrast for me, specifically because I love black and white photography, the contrast is astounding. To me, it's top-notch. As of right now, I have the X-T3. I got it before the X-T4 came out, and I've been in love with it for almost a year and a half now. I have no regrets. I have nothing bad to say about Fujifilm. I think personally, if someone wanted to, you know, get into photography, you know, you don't have to get an EOS, even though EOSs are great, like for Canons, like they're a great camera model, but you know, you don't have to just stick with the standard. And I think Fujifilm kind of proves that it's against the standard. Like it's something very, very different. Like if you love that kind of film, it has, even in digital, it has that nice film kind of quality to its photos. Obviously, when you edit in Lightroom, there would be a whole different story. But like post edit, like before you edit, like it's so, the raw photos are kind of, it's so beautiful. Like I if I can, you know, be the poster girl for Fujifilm, I definitely will. Like,
yeah. You should do a commercial for Fujifilm.
Fujifilm, sponsor her.
Yeah, you definitely like it.
It's so amazing to hear how passionate you are about this. I could listen to you talk about it all day. So we have talked to like quite a few photographers at this point, and it's really interesting to hear like what inspires them in the process, because some are like, oh, for me it's the model, and others are like, oh, it's the clothes they're wearing or the makeup. Would you say that you have something that particularly inspires you or like ignites your creative process?
So honestly, I think it's not necessarily the models or the clothing, it's more of the concept and the idea. I think for me personally, so I like to do a lot of like songwriting and poetry. Like I love words. I love to play with words. And I think when you put certain things together to have like a really beautiful meaning. So sometimes, you know, I'll look at, you know, like a scenery outside in the Bronx, and I'll like, oh, that's like kind of interesting. And so I'll use that kind of concept for something like, that's always something that kind of inspires me when I do my photography. Like, I think my very first project was the red light district, which I probably will revamp very, 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 very soon. But the red light district, I heard it was from a basic conversation that I had with a friend. And I didn't know what the red light district was at first until I, you know, did my research on it, and I was like, oh, it has such a negative connotation to it, you know, such a bad, basically like a bad place to go. And I kind of wanted to use red as a color, but red has such a, it's so many heavy emotions like anger, lust, rage. So I wanted to combine the color aspect with the terminology of a certain area. So I feel like in terms of models, I don't necessarily have a specific look or idea of what I want my model to look like, because I'm very open to, you know, to anything. I like to play with people's comfortability. Like I used to, when I first started, I only photographed my friends, and then I got to know more people. And the more people I got to know, the more I realized that people can be very open-minded if you let them. So at times, you know, I will spend, when I think of a project, for me personally, I will spend more time thinking of the concept than what I want the model and what I want the clothes to look like. I feel like with the concept itself, that sets the foundation for me. And then everything else can, like, I can hair and makeup, like all that can just go right on top. But the concept has to be concrete, or for me, it just won't work.
Interesting. I can really see how your photography and sociology coincides with you saying that.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and I also thought it was interesting that you said that you like the black and white type of techniques. Explain to me a little bit about why you like that, because I know me personally, when I'm looking at photography, I love to look at black and white pictures because you cannot tell the time that it was taken, as far as if this is unless it's a complete distinction in the clothes that they're wearing or something like that, you really can't tell. I mean, I would say pop culture is more so based in the 90s right now. Right. So if you took a black and white picture of me right now, you wouldn't even be able to tell if I'm in 1992 or or 2020 or 2021, you know. So talk to me a little bit about why you like the black and white contrast.
I think for me, I feel like between like black and white and actual like color, a lot of people think that black and white is harder to convey, or no, not harder, but easier to convey because it's only two spectrums on the color spectrum. But I feel like with color, you know, the mood has to be set perfectly. You know, if you want like that kind of like brightness, you have to match the colors of that photo. Whereas with black and white, I can completely strip, you know, reds, blues, yellows, and focus specifically on the white, on the black, and the shadow. I think that's what a lot of people don't acknowledge in black and white photography is the shadows, especially on portraits or in landscape photography. Like the shadows to me make the difference of the photo. Like you can have an entire black and white photo with no shadow and not have the same feeling of it. Like it won't be as dense, it won't be as like dark and gritty as you may want it to. And that's why I like black and white photography more than digital, because even on a human body, you know, emotions, not just emotions, but the way the body, you can play with the body with shadows and how much contrast and how much you want to you know, use lightness and darkness. Like you can play with those elements. And unfortunately, you can't really see those, in my opinion, in digital, like in full color photography. Like you can't see those lights and darks. You focus more on like, you know, I want this color to be bold. For me, black and white, it doesn't really matter if it's bold, it's just if it's there. Like when I was in China, there was one photo that I really enjoyed taking. It was in a village, a war-stricken village, and it was completely all in black and white. And I got it in the right moment because it was raining. It was really gray, really gloomy. And there was one lady on the side and she was like crouching. And I wasn't expecting to get that shot. But when I edited it in Lightroom, I started playing with the shadows, started playing with the contrast. I wanted it was like stone, like the ground was made out of stone. And I wanted the stone to have that feeling of like the rain, like the muddiness, like the sadness. Like I wanted all of that to be put in there. Not to say that black and white photography has to be sad and depressing all the time, but I think it's the challenge of conveying that is what I take pride in when it comes to black and white photography, because I feel like it's a greater story. And that's why I think, I love Fujifilm, not just the camera, but the legacy of it itself, going from film and not abandoning that film aspect in your cameras. Like that's what I adore, because even the greatest photographs you've ever seen, whether they have been in digital or black and white, the black and white photographs have always been monumental and very significant. And obviously people want to see what they look like in color, but that's why it was made in black and white, because it gives the emotion. It already portrays it without having to, augmentate it. And I think that, a lot of people take black and white photography kind of for granted, especially in like portraiture. Like landscaping, it works well, but I think there should be more, for me, basically, should be more kind of black and white, not just for sad portraits, but it can be used in any kind of portraits. But I feel like if you work on it well, like with the lighting and the shadows of it, like shadow is key. Like, and if you work on that really well, like it'll make any photo look amazing.
You are really selling me on this. I'm like, I need to take some selfies in black and white after this and see how the lighting looks.
Like even if it's not like, like the sunlight outside, even like if you like put, like sometimes I do self-portraits myself, and I like to play with the lighting, and sometimes the lighting is not what I want it to be. So, I'll try to, instead of playing with the lighting, I'll play with the darkness, like what's already given for me. Like if the lighting's not going to work, then the dark is going to make it better for me. And
from the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
You from the Bronx? Yeah, I feel like that's that Bronx grit. That's what I feel like it is.
Yeah. Like I feel like, the fact that the Bronx gets so much of a bad rep itself, I feel like, I might as well make use of it. It's there for me.
Right. That's cool.
So have you always lived there?
I have. On occasion, I've traveled. Like on my dad's side, they live in Detroit, so I went to visit my dad's family in Detroit. Besides China, I've went to Texas for a little bit, Canada. Unfortunately, I didn't take photos there. I probably wish I did, but the Bronx has been I've moved in the Bronx like a couple of times as a kid, but as of right now in my adult years, like this is where I'm at for a year, and then I'm gonna move out.
Cool. So do you have like I would say a network of other photographers that you like to kind of collaborate with and kind of like bounce ideas off?
So I have, I want to say 3. No, 4. No, yeah, let's say 4. So the first one was the very first group of photographers that I met in China. We also graduated together. Some are still in school, some are still upstate, and we still keep in contact with each other. Out of that, Nadia, Adriana, and a couple more are my inspirations. They're the ones that kind of, and I tell them on occasion that they've helped me build myself to where I am. So they're kind of like my foundation. And then there's this amazing group, a group of girls that, had a photo walk called Girls Who Shoot. And it's a New York City base, which is now in LA. It's now in LA and New York City based photo walk for, it's an all girls walk for photographers to meet, for models to meet. And I've got to meet photographers, great female photographers and great female models, we talk, we like each other's stuff, we support each other. I would also say, even, and also just, I guess my third and fourth would kind of be people that I met through Facebook. And that's how I met some of my models and some of my stylists and makeup artists is through Facebook, because, behind the camera, I'm very antisocial. So I don't know how to talk to people like in a like face-to-face kind of situation. So I use the internet to get people to like my stuff. But I've also, as much as, social media has its negatives, its positives for me is because I've met, Photos magazine, which was it's a small magazine ran by a guy named Emmanuel. I had the opportunity to be one of my photos to be on his cover of his first magazine, and I was very honored. And from that, I got multiple photographers, multiple makeup artists and stylists and models, following me and loving and commenting on my work. People from studios that I've shot at, I've tried to make a close-knit relationship with them. So I mean, even though it's like in like 3 or 4 different groups, it's kind of broad. There's people that I've never met, but we support each other like through our work. Like there's a couple of artists that I've met who are living like Pennsylvania and Colorado, and I've never met them a day in my life, but I know that their work is amazing and they know my work is amazing. I was in Paxson like 2 months ago, and I had on a bag, a photography bag by Photodom, and this photographer who I didn't know was a photographer at the time, we were having a conversation, and he was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "You seem artsy." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a photographer." And he's like, "Oh, dope." So that's how we met. And so, it's such a, I do want to, I consider them my friends. I consider them my support system. And I also hope that I'm their support system, because I don't think photography is like a competition, or anything creative is a competition. I feel like there's room for support, there's room for improvement. And I'm just, like I said, I'm still a small bubble. So I'm very grateful of the people that I've met and the people that, like my work. And I hope to continue to grow. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I found that very relatable, because it's certain social media friends that you, like you said, you have never met, but they support you. Like I have a podcast outside of this, and it's people that I've never met that buy my merch, that listen to my podcast like on a consistent basis. And it's crazy. Some people that you never met might support you more than people that you've known for decades. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we gonna go to this game that we like to play with everybody that's a guest on the show. It's called Categories, and it's very
a Nick Walker original. He made it up.
I ain't make it up. I kind of made a spin-off of it. So basically all it is we put out a category, and because you're a creative, we're going to use creatives, and in that spectrum of creatives, you can put artists, you can put musicians, you can put filmmakers. And how we play is I'll start off with an artist's name, and the last letter in his name, you have to say have that as the first letter in the artist that you say. Mm-hmm. And we basically go in a circle, and it takes you 5 seconds. You got 5 seconds to actually relay it. So
that's hard.
I know. Yeah. It is. It sounds easy when you're like at first.
Yeah.
If you're doing it, you will forget every artist name you've ever heard in your entire life.
I'm like forgetting right now. Okay, I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna start off. Claire's gonna go second since we've played before. Okay. So I'm gonna start off with Picasso.
Oh, seriously?
Really, Claire?
Well, I'm only for some reason I'm only thinking of Oscar Mayer, but I doubt that will count.
Nah, that don't
An
count.
artist of meats. Okay, I'm gonna say Orville Peck, who was a country singer.
Okay. And that ends with a K, right?
Yeah, ends with a K.
Khalid. Khalid.
Oh.
Khalif? You
Yeah.
said Khalif? Okay.
Yeah.
Sade.
What does that end with? D?
Sade ends with an E.
E. Okay. Eminem.
Okay. Ends with an M.
Michael Jackson.
Okay. Michael Jackson. N. Let's see. Nas.
Does that end with a Z?
NS.
Oh, okay. Sia.
Ends with a what?
A.
A.
Alan Walker.
Alan Walker. Okay. Ends with a R. Redman.
Nelly.
Who you say?
Nelly.
Nelly. Okay. That's
Oh,
cool.
sorry, that's a Y. That's hard.
Nah, that's cool.
Oh
Yeah.
no. Why? Oh, why?
You're getting your master's, girl. You can figure it out.
Youngblood. It's Y. It's
Oh.
YUNBELUD. So the last letter is D.
Z. Okay. All right. I'm gonna say zero. So that ends with an O, not an E. I mean, yeah, it ends with an O regularly, but it ends with an O.
This
Texas.
O letter.
Yeah. Texas.
Oh, Oscar de la Renta.
Never heard of that person.
Isn't that a fashion designer?
Okay.
I think so. Okay, so since we're going with since the last
Yeah,
letter is A, I'm gonna say,
any type of creative.
yeah. So I'm gonna say Alexander McQueen because that was an A.
Okay.
Fun.
Okay, Alexander McQueen. Let's see. N. Let's go with dang, I'm kind of pitching a blank with an N. I don't know why. Let's see. I'm struggling with an N.
I mean, what does your name start with?
Yeah. Nick, I am a
Right.
creative, I guess.
Are you an artist, Nick?
Right, you are.
I'm a podcaster, so I guess I'm a creative. Ends with a K.
Wait, so you went with yourself, Nick Walker?
Yeah, I did.
So
Nah, I
ends with R?
just go with Nick. Just go with
Okay, I'll go with Nick, ends with a K. Oh my gosh. I hate that I'm gonna count her as this, but I'm gonna say Kylie Jenner.
Oh, okay.
All I could think of. She makes makeup, so that like kind of counts.
I guess. Because I love the girl with the dragon tattoo. So Rooney Mara.
Ooh.
What her name end with?
A.
Hey, Alicia Keys.
Oof, nice.
Yes. Shakira.
Okay. That's a go-to for you.
It is, yeah.
That's like your third time saying that. That's a go-to for you.
A$AP Rocky. A$AP
Okay.
Throwback.
Okay. Dang, you left me with a why.
With a why.
Left me in a predicament. Yaris.
Ooh.
Never listened to that music, but
Yeah.
What does it end with?
S.
S. Well, I can't say Shakira, so. Sam Smith.
Okay. And this will be the last one.
Yeah, last one.
So,
Close us out, Casey.
end it out, Cassandra.
Okay, so H. Halle Berry. Halle Berry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the beautiful Halle Berry. Okay.
I was close to saying Hannah Montana, and I was like, that's too much.
I can't wish you would have. Classic. I'm so sad that we can't ask you more questions because you're literally one of the most interesting people I've ever talked to in my entire life.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to plug your social media for everyone so they can go follow you?
Yes. So my Instagram is @blurred. So BLURRED .inc.
Amazing.
It'll be the same thing as my website is also the same. It's blurredinc.com. But I think it's no dot in between. So it's just blurred and then ink together.
Okay, cool.
So it was amazing talking to you, Cassandra, and I learned a lot about photography today that you know, if I ever decide that I want to get into it, I know the right person to hit up. So I appreciate you for the conversation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I was very nervous, but you know, you guys made me very comfortable, and I, you know, thank you for having me on here.
You did not seem nervous. You seemed cool. Get an acting degree on top of all that stuff.
So we'll be closing this podcast episode down, and it was great meeting you, and we out. Peace.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.